Alright, we have already learned quite a lot about template-driven forms. We know what Angular directives are responsible for this kind of form, how they relate to each other, which options are available to configure those directives, and of course, we can bind our component data to the actual form and synchronize its values. In real application, the interaction with the form almost always ends up with the form submission, and this is exactly what we will talk about in this lesson. So, as you may remember, the ngForm directive listens for the native event submit in our form, then it handles it and emits an event on submit via event emitter. And this is the event we are going to listen in our form. So I go to the form and add a new listener for this event and create some handler function that will be executed once this event is triggered. And let's create this handler in our component TS file. And let this handler just console log some string for now. If we save this change and go to the browser, we can see that once I press the save button, the submit event is triggered and my callback prints the string in the console. But we submit forms not to print out strings in the console, right? We usually want to access the form values and dispatch them to the server or handle it some other way. We cannot rely on the user info property because the form model should not necessarily be an object like we have now, and the model doesn't care about its structure. You could extract the first name, for instance, to separate property and provide it as a value to the corresponding ng model, and it will work fine. And for the rest of the values, there could be the same story, and it would be very, very inconvenient to deal with multiple sources. But we remember that ngForm has a form group that basically contains all the form controls registered in this form and its values. So we would need to get a reference to the ngForm and read the value from there. The best way to do it is to assign the instance of ngForm directive to the template variable, like that. And now we can pass it as an argument for our callback. By the way, if this everything looks like magic to you, then have a look at the video edition number 2 for this course. There I explained in detail how it works. But we continue and let's adjust the handler and define the ngForm here as the first argument. Now we can read the form values from the form like that. So now we can go to the browser, change some fields, and now you can see that the form value was printed out, and now you can do whatever you want with that data. If you remember, the ngForm directive propagates the native submit event as well, and if for whatever reason you need it, you can easily get access to it via $event and provide it as a second argument for the handler. So you would be able to read it here and do whatever you want with this event. Usually you don't need it, but let it stay here as a reminder for you that it is possible. Of course, you would like to reset the form after you submitted it. About form resetting, let's talk later in this course, because a reset is not about values resetting only. It is also about the form validation status. So I would suggest you cover those topics first, and then we will get back to the form resetting and I will show you how to do it properly. For now, we could do a temporary hack and just manually update our form model and reset values like that. So now if I go to the browser, modify some fields and click the save button, you can see that the values were reset. The last thing I would like to do is to clean up my view a little bit, because we can already see the form values and I don't need this printed user info anymore. So I'm going to remove it. Also, I want to remove ng form options. I would like to have a default update on strategy, and the same I do for ng model options. So I remove it and revert back the name for this ng model, like that. And now we are ready to move forward.